Good afternoon, Ringwood Church. Paumung, I used to spend many Sabbath afternoons here preaching, and the music is good, and I'm wishing I was still sitting in the pew right now, to be honest with you. Steve rang me up and said, would you speak this afternoon? And I said to Steve, it's the Sabbath before camp, I always take it off. It takes the stress out of my life, and I pray and I fast to see if it really is God's will to go to camp. And I'm still waiting. That sound okay, Craig? So I want to thank you for the opportunity. Steve, just remember, you are mine from lunchtime on Tuesday at camp, and I will lay awake between now and then and think of 1,000 ways to punish you. And the first thing you can do is keep my car immaculately clean at Elmore. I think those of us who have been to Elmore know that that is impossible. So I want to thank you, Steve, for being here. And when Steve asked me to speak, I said, what do you want me to speak on? What do you want me to say? And Steve said, well, you've been a pastor for 38 years. You'll have something in your files. You can take it out and you can polish it. And you can hone it and make it better. And the pastors are here today know what I'm talking about, don't you? Until you go to a church where there are people that have already heard that sermon before and your heart sinks and you go, oh, why did I polish? I've got nothing to polish. I've never been in this position before. This is above my pay grade. So, before we get into the Word of God, Steve is still here. I had the privilege of doing ministry with him for 4 years in Ringwood Church. It would be fair enough to say I've had easier passages in life and ministry, and it was your introduction to ministry, and I'm surprised you're still here. I'm surprised you're not locked up somewhere in a room with pink walls. I'm surprised you haven't killed yourself with junk food. Lamnu, can I let the cat out of the bag, Steve? When your dear husband was very not well, not coping with stress, I would get a phone call, and 9 times out of 10, it would be as he is going through McDonald's, Hungry Jack's, or KFC. And I would listen to the order. And more often than not, it would involve some caffeine and obviously good vegetarian food. And on more than one occasion, Steve tried to get me to fall in love with Burmese food. He has not been successful. He will not be ever successful. He can take me to Little Burma at Moorabank as much as he likes. It's not going to happen. Steve went through some tough times in Ringwood Church, and those of you who are members at Ringwood Church, particularly the Burmese community, you are fortunate to have a pastor who is prepared to take some bullets, to take some hits on your behalf. You are fortunate to have a pastor who was prepared to stand up when what I would call were ravenous wolves coming in to consume the flock here at Ringwood Church. And Steve, I know you are passionate about justice and truth. And I want to say to the conference brethren, while ever Steve is alive and I am dead, I will always be in your thoughts. If you think I'm concerned about truth and justice and what is right, Steve is on steroids when it comes to that issue. And so I want to thank you for Steve. I'd love to say that justice was done in all that Ringwood Church went through. I'm not entirely sure, but I share a little quote from Martin Luther King, who said, the moral arc of the universe is long, but it does bend toward justice. Sometimes we have to wait. And so I would encourage you, do not draw a verdict or make a conclusion about your ministry at this point in time. It's not over. It's not finished. There's much yet to come, and you may have to wait until eternity to see some justices put right. In John chapter 10, it talks about the good shepherd and the hired shepherd. And if you know the text, Jesus says he is the good shepherd. The hired shepherd runs when the wolf comes in to consume the sheep. Steve stuck around. Steve took some hits for the sheep. Steve won't stand here and pump his tyres up. We all know what that means. Steve won't tell you how good he is. I will, because I can. Steve to me is like a brother from another mother. One of us missed the Asian gene and one of us missed the Caucasian gene. He's got the brains apparently. I got the good looks, buddy. Sorry. Whilst I was the pastor at Ringwood Church, food bank, Steve, do you remember those days? We would drive the Dandenong, I forgot what car you had, it would come back chock-a-block full of food. We did that week after week after week. Bread deliveries, year after year. I'd be charging around everywhere, dropping off bread. And when I got the parcel of bread to deliver, the first thing I'd look for was the bread with the nice icing on the top and the sultanas in it. That was going to my home every day of the week. Then I think of the challenges you've faced with the Burmese community. I would not like to go to Myanmar to live. I would be out of my depth completely. And Steve, you've been a father, a shepherd to this church. You've sorted out their legal issues. You've sorted out their financial issues, their relationship issues. You've done all sorts of things for them. We ran a homework group. Do you remember that? We had the Burmese folks here on Tuesday nights, I think, teaching them how to read and write and all that sort of stuff. And for some reason, I ended up every Tuesday night cooking chips, cutting up salad, serving ice cream. And you want to be thankful, pastors, that I'm not the cook at camp this year, because we'd all get very fat very quickly. So, Steve, today is the start of your ordained ministry. You can legally call yourself pastor from now on. I'm old school. I want to reflect upon Paul's ministry in Acts chapter 20, the end of his ministry. And he's writing to the elders in the church of Ephesus. This is his farewell speech, if you like. And I want to overlay Steve's beginning of ministry over Paul's end of ministry. He says there in verse 24, "If only I may finish the course and the ministry that I received from the Lord Jesus, to testify to the good news of God's grace." First thing he's interested in is finishing. Finishing. It doesn't matter where you begin, it matters how you finish. My first year in ministry, Steve, was in a little place in South New Zealand that had 10 members, an average age of about 110. And I thought, if this is it, why did I leave Australia and come here? Within 6 months, I had the union president knocking on my front door. He literally came to visit me and told me to pull my socks up. And I felt like telling him a few things, but never mind. It doesn't matter where you begin or how you begin. It matters how you end. It matters how you end. Then there are two challenges from Paul's speech to the elders at Ephesus. Twice he says this: "I did not shrink from doing anything helpful, proclaiming the message to you and teaching you publicly from house to house." He says again, "I did not shrink from declaring to you the whole purpose of God." First principle I want to pull out of there, Steve, is don't go missing in action. Do not shrink. I can promise Craig that come Tuesday lunchtime, there'll be pastors missing in action. True? Craig's got to be politically correct here. I'll say it. Do not go missing in action. Do not withdraw. Do not escape. Do not shrink. Do not hide away from your calling. May your words, may your actions in particular, always reveal Jesus Christ and his redemptive love. May you always talk to your churches. Do not be afraid to talk to your churches and your church members about the hopes, the needs, the concerns of this world. And always encourage your church to be the safest possible spiritual environment they can be, so people who eat red meat and drink caffeine and don't keep the Sabbath and watch too much junk on telly can come and find Jesus Christ in a safe place. Do not shrink. Do not go missing in action. Be courageous and live out God's purpose in your life and hopefully in the life of your churches. Second challenge from Paul. He says there in verse 25 of Acts 20, "Now I know that none of you will ever see my face again." That's the challenge, Steve. We don't want to see your face again. Now, Lamnu, is it a good-looking face? Did you fall in love with his brains, his boyish good looks, his money? None of the above. Are you still trying to work out why you fell in love with him? I don't know. Maybe. I'll talk to you guys later and give you some marital wisdom. We don't want to see your face again. That may seem harsh, but it's I guess, a spiritual principle there. The saints here at Ringwood Church, the saints at Oasis Church around the corner, the saints at the Vic Conference, they don't want to see your face again because it reminds them too much of me. We don't want to see your face again. We want you to be transparent. So when we see you, we see Jesus. When the saints hear you, they hear Jesus. When they look at you, they see an Asian version of Jesus. How's that sound? Eh? We tend to think Jesus is Caucasian with blonde hair, don't we? Well, one day we'll find out. We want that we see Jesus, not Steve Munsuang. Now, there will be times, for many reasons, when you will be tempted to want to show your face, to want to be noticed, to want to be recognised. Don't. Your calling isn't about you. Your ordination isn't about you. Your ordination is about a greater purpose and a greater vision than you. And so we don't want to see your face again. There'll be times when others will be tempted to look at you and say, "Steve, you're doing an excellent job and you're the best pastor we've ever had in that church, this church." And every pastor here today has heard those words at some point in time, unless, of course, you followed me, and then you'll never hear them. Does that make sense? No. There'll be times when people will connect with you and click with you and divulge long-held secrets and traumas, and they'll tell you what a difference you're making in their life, and the temptation is to listen to them and let your head get this big. Don't. A couple of weeks ago at Spotswood Church, there was a pastor there, a retired pastor, and he came and he said to me, the last couple of years, and he gets around a lot of churches, he said, "I've heard 2 really good sermons in the last couple of years, both from this church, both from you." And I said, "Tell me more." No, I didn't. My wife said, "If your head gets any bigger, you can catch the train home because I'm driving home." Sometimes it's good to listen for a little while, but not too long. There'll be times when the saints are disappointed in you, Steve, when they are angry with you, and I don't know why, but they may not like you. They may not like you. There'll be times when you shouldn't spend too much time on those issues. Don't immerse yourself trying to find responses to those issues, because if you do, all we'll ever do is end up seeing your face. It's a paradox. Do not shrink. Do not see your face. That's a paradox. That's a tension that you need to hold. And that tension will keep you in a wholesome position. But there will be days when you're disillusioned by the church. And Craig will send you a letter and said, "You've got to be at camp at Tuesday at midday to start," and you'll be disillusioned. And there'll be times when you'll be disappointed by the saints. Sorry, saints, but sometimes you disappoint the pastors. Sometimes you'll disagree with your colleagues. Hold the tension. Stand in the paradox. There'll be days when you feel hurt and lost and abandoned. Hold the tension. Stand in the paradox. There'll be days when you question why you're doing this and why you are here. Hold the tension. Stand in the paradox. There'll be days when everything works. It fits together. And you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is where you're meant to be and this is about what you should be doing. Hold the tension. Stand in the paradox. There'll be days when everything you touch turns to gold. Not too many, but there will be. Hold the tension. Stand in the paradox. And on those days, shout with joy, celebrate with McDonald's or KFC or Hungry Jack's. I don't mind. But above all, hold the tension, stand in the paradox. Paul says that every time you do that, same passage, Acts 20, every time you hold the tension and stand in the paradox, you become a captive to the Spirit. A captive to the Spirit. And when you're a captive to the Spirit, you're not a captive to yourself. You're not a captive to your successes and failures. You're not a captive to the things that you've done or you haven't been able to do. You're no longer a captive to the praises or the criticisms of your church families. When you are captive to the Spirit, you're no longer captive to the voices in your head or the feelings that are in your hearts. 2 challenges. Do not shrink. Do not let us see your face again. That's the challenge. That's the tension. That's the paradox. And so to my brother from another mother, does your father understand that concept? He does. Actually, he's young enough to be my son. So there you go. But I hold my age well, don't I? To my colleague in ministry, my dearest friend, God has called you to this work. He will be with you. Hang on to the everlasting, trustworthy hand of God and never, ever let go. Amen.